Are you sure your pantry is stocked well enough to get through next month if food prices keep climbing? Because in just the past few months, the price of a carton of eggs in many states has blown past $7, while the cheapest cooking oil has disappeared from shelves within days. Unstable supply chains, droughts in California, hailstorms in Florida, new import tariffs from China, all of it is driving food prices higher in wave after wave with no warning. You walk into the grocery store, see the same product, but smaller, lighter, more expensive, and can't help wondering what's going on. This is no longer some vague sense of inflation. It's right there in black and white on your receipt every week. In this video, we're going to look at 10 essential foods you need to stock up on now to prepare for what's happening across America. The country may be losing control, but you don't have to let your family's meals do the same. Let's start with the first item on the list. Number 1, frozen vegetables. Have you noticed? Fresh greens aren't cheap anymore. A bag of lettuce barely bigger than your fist now costs nearly $5. Just last month, it was under $3. You don't need a spreadsheet to see what's happening. One look at your grocery receipt is enough to know things are spinning out of control. In many states, the spike in produce prices isn't about supply and demand. It's about crops drying up at home and imports getting hit with new taxes. In California, early harvests collapsed under relentless heat. Meanwhile, vegetables from Mexico, which normally supply America through the winter, have been slapped with tariffs again since June. The shelves may look full, but each trip to the store quietly costs more than the last. With fresh produce turning into a luxury item more expensive than meat, more families are leaning on frozen vegetables. Not for convenience, but because it's the only way to keep meals going without blowing the budget. Over 94% of American households now keep frozen veggies in the freezer, according to AFI surveys. No marketing push, no social media hype. Simply because frozen lasts longer, holds a steadier price, and doesn't drain your wallet every week. Instead of racing against the clock to finish a bag of spinach before it wilts, families now get by with a few bags of frozen peas, broccoli, and carrots that can stretch for a whole week. No stressing over dinner plans, no guilt watching yesterday's salad turn brown in the trash. You don't have to love frozen vegetables, but with everything climbing from gas to rent, from bread to lettuce, frozen produce is the lifeline that lets you hang on without giving up nutrition or dignity. And that's why more people are stocking up, not waiting until the freezer runs empty. Because frozen vegetables can last a month, but fresh produce prices can skyrocket overnight after a storm, a tariff announcement, or a rumor of import shortages. Number 2, frozen pizza. Frozen pizza used to be an afterthought. Now it's one of the most stockpiled items in the freezer aisles of American supermarkets. Not because of taste, not because of habit, but because the cost of fresh pizza and takeout has soared far beyond what most people can afford. From 2022 to mid-2024, the average price of a delivered pizza jumped more than 30%, according to data from Technomic and DoorDash. With service fees, taxes, and tips, a single pizza can easily run between $22 and $28 in many states. Meanwhile, a frozen pizza of the same size and portion costs just $5.99 to $9.99 less than half the price. In 2024, frozen pizza sales in the U.S. hit $6.5 billion, showing steady growth even as retail spending tightened. It's no longer just a convenience food. It's a budget control tool, especially for households living on fixed incomes who no longer have the flexibility to absorb market price swings. In the Midwest and the Southeast, where poverty rates and reliance on SNAP are higher, frozen pizza has become a staple stockpile item. It lasts long, requires no cooking skills, and can be bought in bulk at discount chains like Aldi, Walmart, or Dollar General. In many cases, a frozen pizza is cheaper than a bowl of ramen when measured by calories per dollar. The key factor behind its popularity isn't quality but price stability. While transportation costs, gas prices, wages, and import tariffs are driving up nearly every fresh food and delivery option, frozen pizza has managed to hold steady for months at a time, a rare exception in today's market. And as more families prepare for sudden disruptions from government shutdowns to winter storms, foods that store well need no prep and cost less, like frozen pizza, have become a top priority. Stocking frozen pizza isn't about convenience anymore. It's about survival. Not a choice for flavor, but a short-term financial defense strategy. Number 3, canned fish. If there's one food that's both nutrient-dense and doesn't rely on refrigeration, it's canned fish. At a time when food prices climb week after week, stocking canned fish isn't just a suggestion anymore. It's a necessity for anyone trying to protect their grocery budget. Fresh fish fillets, frozen seafood, they've all gone through repeated price hikes over the past 2 years. Rising fuel costs for fishing boats, import tariffs on Asian seafood, and higher distribution expenses have made the value of every fillet harder to predict. And as the prices of red meat and industrial chicken swing wildly out of control, consumers are being pushed toward alternative sources of protein. Canned fish has become the most practical option. Unlike fresh fish, which requires strict refrigeration and quick consumption, canned fish can sit safely on a shelf for months, even years, with no added storage costs. Tuna, sardines, salmon, or even mixed meats like Spam are now seen as strategic pantry staples, especially for seniors or people living alone who value simplicity and stability. The true value of canned fish lies in its long-term price stability. While fresh food fluctuates with the season's weather or supply chain breakdowns, canning facilities are able to maintain consistent pricing thanks to large-scale production that shields them from short-term disruptions. Canned fish isn't just a quick meal solution, it's a financial safety net. Because once aluminum cans rise in price or new tariffs hit packaging imports, the market sends a clear warning: a broad price surge is on the way. And when those new price levels are set, there's no guarantee consumers will be able to buy as freely as before. The trend of stocking up on canned fish is spreading fast in rural areas, suburbs, and lower-income urban neighborhoods where monthly grocery budgets are already stretched thin. For just a few dollars per, people can buy in bulk, store them safely, and use them gradually without worrying about spoilage or waste. Canned fish isn't a luxury. It's a defensive strategy, a smart move shaped by economic uncertainty and an unstable marketplace. Stocking up now means taking control of your meals instead of being caught off guard by what comes next. Number 4, coffee. Coffee has been one of the most hotly debated groceries in the past month, not because of shortages, but because of prices that make no sense. Across supermarkets and grocery stores, both ground coffee and instant varieties have gone through back-to-back price hikes, even though operating costs haven't shifted dramatically. The real driver is raw coffee beans. Prolonged drought in Brazil, combined with new import tariffs, has doubled bean prices in just over a year, and that pressure is rolling straight down to consumers. You can see it clearly on store shelves, where brands like Folgers Café Bustelo and mid-range imports have all raised prices again and again. In this climate, stocking up on coffee is no longer optional. It's essential. Whole beans or vacuum-packed coffee can last for months if stored properly. Many households are doubling up buying in bulk, rather than week to week, simply to avoid paying the next round of increases. Inflation isn't just making people more alert to their spending, it's forcing them to adopt strategies. Coffee is the perfect example of why buying ahead matters. If you don't grab it while it's still within reach, the next time you go shopping, it may already be outside your budget. Independent roasters have been warning that if tariffs keep climbing, coffee will no longer be one of the foods that can resist price hikes. And remember, coffee isn't just an office perk or a quick breakfast fix. For people living on fixed incomes, seniors, working-class families, hourly laborers, that first cup in the morning is part of daily life, a small but necessary boost to get through the day. When prices rise, they don't have many alternatives that fit both the routine and the budget. There's nothing romantic about this. It's just practical survival. Coffee has become a clear inflation indicator. Stocking up isn't about preparing for a crisis. It's about holding on to your routine when the value of $1 slips away. Number 5, dry pasta. If you can open your pantry and take a look. If there's still space, consider adding a few boxes of dry pasta as soon as possible. With food prices climbing non-stop, this is quickly becoming one of the smartest staples to stock up on. Back in 2019, a standard box of pasta cost around 72 cents. Today it's closer to 125. That's a jump of nearly 74%. This isn't a minor price slip, it's a clear sign that even the cheapest basics aren't so cheap anymore. That said, dry pasta remains one of the most stable items in the middle of all these price hikes. While meat, vegetables, and coffee fluctuate week by week, pasta has held steady thanks to low production and storage costs. Dollar for dollar, it's one of the most affordable sources of calories you can buy right now. USDA reports show grocery prices are still up more than 2% year over year, which means household budgets are being quietly drained every day. Unlike perishable foods, dry pasta isn't hit immediately by shipping problems or supply chain shocks. Even when wheat prices rise, producers usually have stockpiles that last months, delaying any increase at the shelf. Savvy shoppers are taking advantage of this window to stock up before the next round of hikes kicks in. For people on fixed incomes, hourly workers, or families who've lost SNAP benefits, pasta is becoming a pantry essential. Not because it's gourmet, but because it guarantees a basic meal when everything else is getting priced out of reach. Another plus, pasta is endlessly flexible. A pan of noodles with a splash of oil, a few simple spices, and a cheap protein like canned fish or peanut butter is enough to make a complete meal. At a time when the market keeps squeezing wallets, this is a way to hold on to the bare minimum of balance. There's nothing romantic about it. It's just reality. Dry pasta is the cheapest, longest-lasting, and most versatile food you can lean on when you need to cut spending. And if you wait too long, tomorrow you might be paying double for the very same box. Number 6. Cooking oil. Hardly anyone brings up cooking oil when talking about inflation. Yet this is the very thing that can throw a family meal completely off track. You can go without vegetables or even meat for a bit, but once you run out of oil, the kitchen shuts down. Lately, more Americans have started noticing in some states the price of a single gallon of cooking oil is on par with a rack of pork ribs. This isn't a matter of prices creeping up a few cents. It's a sharp, drawn-out surge with no signs of slowing. That's why when it comes to stockpiling food to protect your wallet from this wave of inflation, cooking oil cannot be skipped. But not every kind is worth buying. If you can prioritize canola oil or sunflower oil from brands like Wesson or Crisco, these are domestically produced oils still relatively stable in price and less affected by import tariffs or global oil market swings. The pressure on supply is becoming clearer. Demand for oil to produce biofuels has spiked while shipping, bottling, and export regulations in major producing countries like Indonesia and Brazil are tightening. Premium oils like olive oil or avocado oil were already expensive, and now they're climbing even faster. By contrast, canola and sunflower remain in the manageable range for most American households. Many families have switched entirely to Wesson vegetable oil, a blend of canola, soybean, and corn oil, not because it tastes great, but because it still fits the budget. A large jug can last for weeks and saves you from paying a higher per-bottle price. Similarly, Crisco vegetable oil has become a go-to option for households using stockpiling strategies. The truth is, cooking oil prices have been pushed up non-stop over the past year. Not just from crop costs, but from refining, bottling, and transportation, adding their own layers of expense. And as the market continues to shift without warning, consumers are realizing wait too long, and you lose. For households living on assistance, fixed incomes, or tight budgets, buying a big jug of oil is more than just savings. It cuts down on trips to the store and lowers the risk of getting caught when prices jump. Cooking oil isn't a luxury item. It's the foundation of a basic meal. While fresh produce feels uncertain, coffee keeps climbing and meat prices swing every week, cooking oil is still one of the few things left with some stability. And that's exactly why it needs to be bought ahead of time. Not for flavor, not for status, but because it's the one ingredient you can't go without to keep daily life running when everything else is shifting beyond your control. Number 7, peanut butter. These days, keeping a jar of peanut butter in the pantry feels almost mandatory for families trying to stretch their budget. This isn't a new habit. It's an immediate response to a food market that's becoming harder and harder to predict. Peanut butter prices aren't as friendly as they used to be. The costs of peanuts, sugar, and oil have all gone up, while production, packaging, and transportation show no sign of easing. In the middle of all this, brands like Jif and Skippy, backed by steady domestic supply chains, have become the only reliable options left. Price-conscious shoppers are shifting strategies. Instead of buying small jars, they're going for the big ones that last longer. Many are picking reduced sugar or low-fat versions, not out of preference, but because they're cheaper and easier to find on sale. Whenever Walmart or Costco runs a promotion, people grab extra to stock up. Not for taste, but to make sure there's always a ready source of protein in the house. Why has peanut butter managed to hold its ground during the price storm? 3 clear reasons. First, it's still one of the cheapest protein sources out there. Even with higher prices, it remains more affordable than meat, fish, or eggs. Second, it keeps well. A large jar can last a whole month without refrigeration, saving extra trips to the grocery store. Third, it's versatile. Spread on bread, mixed with oatmeal, paired with fruit, or eaten straight off the spoon, it's quick filling and not tied to fresh items that change price every week. The groups hit hardest by inflation. Retirees living on pensions, low-wage workers, families relying on SNAP figured this out early. For them, a few dollars difference on a jar of peanut butter today could be what keeps them from paying twice as much for a meal tomorrow. There's no heartwarming story here. This is a daily survival decision. Inflation hasn't peaked yet. Prices for meat, eggs, and vegetables shift constantly without warning. Benefits can be cut at any moment. In this reality, peanut butter serves as the last anchor keeping meals from slipping out of reach. Nobody calls it a main course. But in a world where everything else keeps driving, costs higher. Peanut butter is what helps people hold on to a sense of normal eating, something more and more Americans are losing. Number 8. Pure honey. For many families, especially older adults, or those with health conditions, honey used to be a small luxury, a natural swap for refined sugar in tea, porridge, or light snacks. But in recent months, a simple jar of pure honey has become something people hesitate over every time they walk through the grocery aisle. A 16-ounce bottle that once cost around $5 is now jumping to $8-9 in many stores, and some organic labels are topping tennis. And that's not even the premium stuff. Those are everyday brands like Great Value or Nature Nates. The reason isn't just packaging costs. It's the severe decline in natural supply. Extreme weather has sharply reduced bee populations across the U.S., while imported honey faces stricter inspections and higher tariffs. That gap has opened the door for counterfeit products, syrups, or flavored blends, slapped with a pure honey label that aren't pure at all. Savvy shoppers are forced to read labels more carefully, and often turn to trusted local sources, which usually means paying even more. Even so, honey still deserves a spot on the pantry stock-up list. Not just for its natural sweetness, but because of its near-infinite shelf life when sealed and stored in a cool, dry place. A single jar can last for months, even years, without spoiling, something few other sweeteners can claim. Honey also carries health benefits that sugar can't match, aiding digestion, soothing coughs, delivering quick energy, all especially helpful for seniors and those on special diets. In tough times, a spoonful of honey in the morning can feel like a small daily boost worth keeping, even if it means cutting back elsewhere. Do you use honey? Where do you buy it? And how do you know it's the real thing? Drop your thoughts below. The right tip at the right time could save someone from paying too much for fake honey. Number 9, oats. A few years ago, oats were easy to overlook. Not as sweet as boxed cereal, not as fun as pancakes, not as comforting as a slice of toast. But in 2025, as Americans cut back on every possible grocery expense, oats are quietly making a comeback as a hidden weapon against inflation. A big 42-ounce canister of plain oats still sells for under $4 at stores like Walmart or Costco. In a market where so many foods are spiraling upward in price, that kind of stability is rare. And it's enough to push seniors, low-income families, and SNAP households to move oats into their must-buy list. Oats aren't just a breakfast food anymore. Many families are using them as a main meal or a filler between meals, stretching budgets without leaving anyone hungry. Mix oats with ripe bananas, hot water, and a pinch of salt, and you've got a breakfast that's packed with fiber, slow carbs, and enough fuel to keep you full all morning. Others are cooking oats with powdered milk or even plain water, then topping with peanut butter or frozen fruit. Simple, inexpensive, and most importantly, budget-friendly. One thing worth noting, not every oat product is worth stocking up on. Skip the flavored instant oatmeal packets loaded with sugar and additives. Go for old-fashioned or steel-cut oats, pure, minimally processed, and shelf-stable for the long haul. How are you eating oats these days? Hot, cold, mixed with milk, or baked into something new? Share your ideas below, because your method might help someone else stretch their grocery dollar without cutting meals. In the middle of rising prices, it's often the humble foods that turn out to be the strongest anchor. Number 10, rice. Few foods have carried the everyday staple label as long as rice. A 5 to 10 pound bag used to guarantee a month of full meals, cheap, filling, and dependable. But if you haven't been paying attention to prices lately, now is the time. Most of America's rice supply comes from imports Thailand, India, Vietnam, and it's getting hit hard by both climate change and export restrictions. Floods, droughts, and fertilizer shortages have cut production sharply. At the same time, top rice-producing countries are tightening exports to protect their own food security. The result, U.S. shoppers are starting to see rice prices creeping up dollar by dollar, week by week. At chains like Walmart, a 20-pound bag of jasmine rice that once sold for under $10 is now $14, even $16 depending on the brand. Organic or specialty varieties like basmati or brown rice cost even more. If you've always thought of rice as a budget cushion, it's time to recalculate. Still, rice belongs on any stock-up list. Why? First, cost per serving is still lower than almost any other food that keeps you full. Second, shelf life is long as it's stored dry. Third, it's endlessly versatile, eaten on its own, turned into porridge, stir-fried, mixed with beans, or swapped in for pasta or bread in countless meals. Low-income families are already buying rice in bulk, portioning it into sealed containers for long-term use. This is no longer just an Asian household habit, it's spreading to white and Latino households too. For one simple reason, rice is one of the few foods that still delivers satiety without wrecking the budget. If you rely on rice every day, check how much you've got left and how many meals it will cover. At the current pace of price hikes, in just a few weeks, you could be paying several dollars more for the exact same bag. And in times like these, a few dollars equals an entire meal. How about you? Do you buy rice in bulk, portion it out, cook it plain fried, or stretch with beans? Share your tips below, because your way of making it last could be the lifeline for someone else struggling to keep food on the table. Inflation doesn't ask if you're ready, it simply arrives and chips away at your meals piece by piece. The foods we assumed would always be there are quietly slipping out of reach. No one wants to live counting every grain of rice, every spoon of peanut butter, or every bowl of oats. But unless we get smart now, the price won't just be measured in dollars, it will be the helpless feeling that even a basic meal has become a luxury.
This video does not promote division within the United States or encourage segregation. All content is presented for the purpose of exploration, analysis, and fostering discussion based on current events, public sentiment, and social trends. We fully respect the United States Constitution and all federal regulations. If today's analysis made you think, drop a comment so we can keep the conversations going. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you will never miss our next independent deep dive.